Hello and welcome to episode 135 of the TEW 2 Challenge Run. This is going to be my Night Raw for week 3 of May 2021, and the road to Money in the Bank is very much in full swing. We're actually nearly there already. I've sort of blown through the month of May. I'm pretty much caught up to real life now. And without any further ado, I believe we can jump straight into the show. There's nothing I need to go over. Yeah, just jump straight into the show.
Too long, the lies and excuses have conquered. It's just a time bomb waiting to go wrong. So tell me why has it come to this? We live just like we're dead. Afraid of something, afraid of someone. It's time to rise from the ashes. Rise into new day.
Again, I hope that my microphone is being picked up this time. It was for SmackDown, and it was literally just a second ago, and I said hello into it about a million times. So, I'm assuming now you can hear proper microphone audio. So I do apologise for that one. It is the sort of lapse in my brain, so I have to get used to plugging in the new microphone. But anyway, Kevin Owens comes out with his goobers ever-rise, talking about how Keith Lee, he was a great first world champion back, and it's nice to see somebody like Keith Lee as the champion of this brand after so many years of John Cena, Roman Reigns, Randy Orton. But unfortunately for Keith, he has come around to the wrong place at the wrong time, because Owens, he's fit and ready to go, and at Money in the Bank, the prize fighter is going to return, and he's going to win the ultimate prize in WWE, that being the World Heavyweight Championship. Then the Miz comes out, and the Miz is like, you've got to be thanking me, Kevin. And Owens is like, thanking you for what, Miz? He's like, well, if it wasn't for me, Damian Priest would also be in line for a World Championship opportunity, but I made sure that he had his eyes focused on my Intercontinental Championship, and I'm going to take that title off him. So Keith Lee's now all yours to handle because of me, because of my generosity of wanting to make that championship prestigious, because that's just what I do, Kevin. And me as the Intercontinental Champion, you as the World Heavyweight Champion. That sounds like a good time on Raw, doesn't it? And Owens is like, no. Well, me being the World Champion does, but I don't know about you. Because even though these two are heels, and they are feuding with, like, the champions, they just wouldn't get along. And they've both got their own group of geeks. That's when Keith Lee comes out, and him and Damian Priest come out together, and they make a tag team main event player. It's going to be Miz and Owens against Keith Lee and Damian Priest. Just a nice little main event to do. Let's see how these two friends get along. And these two heels, who are definitely not friends. We then come back from commercial, and MVP's in the ring with the entire Hurt Business. And he says, well, it looks like it took Drew McIntyre about a month to find friends, but apparently he's actually got friends now. But let's get straight to the point. Any of you people back there think you can take on the almighty Bobby Lashley? One of you come out here and try me right now. And that's when Otis comes out. And he reminds the world that he actually did beat Bobby Lashley back at Survivor Series. And MVP's like, well, that's because we had a worm amongst the ranks of what was then VIP Nation, now the Hurt Business. And trust me, if you're demanding to go one-on-one with the almighty Bobby Lashley right now, you won't get the same result. And it was just like, well, let's find out, bro. So opener is Otis versus Bobby Lashley. Gets an 81, and Lashley puts Otis down with the Hurt Lock in 11:06. 81 for Otis and an 82 for Lashley. Not bad. Nice ratings. Literally, the ratings add up to that score. Well, in reality, it'll be 81.5 each, and we'd round up to 82, but I'm not going to be picky. It's 81 out of Otis. Former WWE champion, former Intercontinental champion, future member of the franchise players. Then get a backstage interview. Charlie Caruso is with Christian. It's just Christian this week. Edge isn't here. He's off doing other stuff, Christian says. So he's going to go alone. He's got a match with Kofi Kingston. And he says that he's always respected Kofi. It'll be nice to have another match on Raw with Kofi after all these years. And then Charlie asks him what the stats is about the tag team championships, and he says, well, that whole thing's a little bit fishy. You know, I consider us contenders. I consider Young Undisputed Era contenders. So surely if I beat Kingston, we will be next in line for a tag title opportunity. But there is a lot going on, Charlie. It's a bit too much for me. But I have to go talk to Eve and Breeze to get that one all sorted out. But all on my mind is focused on tonight is Kofi. Then get a sit-down interview. Wade Barrett, we're going to use him. He's a Raw announcer, like how they use JR and Tony in real life in AEW, and they used Samoa Joe in NXT before they cut him in real life. Sometimes they use Michael Cole. Yeah, you know what I mean. The sit-down backstage interview, and an interviewer with the people backstage. And Barrett's got Kaylee Ray and Nikki Cross, the Lady Scots, with him, explaining why they laid out Paige and AJ Lee. Because I don't think we got an explanation from them last week. I think they just won a match. So this is their actual explanation. They say, well, Paige, we do owe our being here to Raw. Here on Raw to Paige. But we don't want to be those girls that cling on to who's supposed to be their mentor. We want to make our own mark. And quite frankly, learning from Paige served its usefulness, because the women's evolution passed Paige by. It passed AJ Lee by. People will say, oh, they were in the wrong era, and they preceded the evolution, but once the women's evolution kicked into full gear, Paige retired, AJ was gone. So, there's somebody else that I'm taking advice from. It's not Paige, and quite frankly, she's helped me learn a lot more than Paige did, because she isn't yesterday's news. She knows what it takes to thrive in the current women's division. And me and Nikki are going to use those skills at Money in the Bank. Paige, AJ, don't think I'm looking past the Mean Girls. But if you get past them, we'll see you at Money in the Bank. And this isn't going to be the same two girls that you were buddy with back at Backlash, back in Australia. This will be a vicious side of Kaylee Ray and a vicious side of Nikki Cross. And trust me, once Money in the Bank is over, the Lady Scots will be the women's tag team champions. Just a quick run back from a match last week, just to fill time. Raquel beats Mandy, 5 minutes of a big boot. 50 for Raquel Gonzalez, Mandy Rose over 44. Yeah, Raquel just getting another win. In real life, this would be 50-50, but that's how people don't get over. Then after the match, Raquel and Angel Garza are celebrating when Cameron Grimes and Bo Dallas come out. And they just start running their mouth. And they say, Cameron Grimes likes what you saw from Raquel and Garza, and they'd make quite a good duo to help increase the stock of the stock exchange. So what do you say, Garza? We can help take your career to the moon. How much money would it take? And then obviously he gets a stack of dollar bills out. And then Garza's like, 100. He gives him 10 $10 bills, hands them to Garza. He counts them all, he starts nodding his head. And then, of course, Garza lays him out. Raquel probably takes Big Bo down for Big Boot because he's a goober for right now, and he can take that sort of bump. Wing clipper to Cameron Grimes, and then the money gets shoved down his throat. So sort of taking like the real life Angel Garza the Rose thing, but making it a babyface, because I still think Garza would be better suited as a babyface because he's just so lovable. Eve's in her office when Tyler Breeze is there as well, overlooking the show like the detective prince that he is, when Drew McIntyre and his gaggle of friends walk in. And Drew says, enough with this Hurt Business crap. Next week, one of you two, I don't care who it is, make the match. Me, Ricochet, Otis, and Sheamus against the 4 members of the Hurt Business that aren't MVP. And he's like, whoa, Drew, we have a whole show booked in, so we'll have to try and make room for that match, but I'll think about it. And Breeze is like, yeah, done. That match sounds like money. And then he's like, no, Breeze, I see what you're doing here. You're not gonna overthrow my authority. You're just here to make sure the show runs smoothly. You got it? He's like, okay. But the match is made official. Drew, Ricochet, Otis, and Sheamus next week against Cedric, Shelton, Dio, and Lashley of the Hurt Business. The last 8-man tag main event we did was the best match of the series, so hopefully that one's also pretty good. Next up, we just gave the Purge a 6-man tag win. I feel like they don't wrestle enough, especially Dexter and Dane, and that is by design because I do want to kind of like not overexpose them. Same reason why you don't see Bray Wyatt and Susie at the minute, because I've got nothing for them to do really, and it keeps them fresh. So I just want to give them a nice win because I don't really wrestle on Raw. Dane and Loomis aren't really wrestling at all, I've found, so just need to give them a win over the free NXT guys. 60 for Dane, 50 for Loomis, 89 for Black, 32 for Adrian Alanis, 36 for Drake Chambers, and a 28 for Nathan Kelly. After the match, Alanis is the one who took the pinfall, and Alexa picks him up and lays him out with her new finisher. Probably wouldn't have her do the Sister Abigail or the Black Mass, but she's got some other new move that she would use. And then Alistair would put his hand on his shoulder, and the Purge have completely taken over the brain of Alexa Bliss. Charlie's with Buddy Murphy just to get him on the show. He says last week he got a win after his loss in Australia really hurt him. He was supposed to go to his hometown and be the hero, and all due respect to Keith Lee, he'll be a fine world champion, but that wasn't how that night was supposed to go for Murphy. And Murphy, he needs to remind the world that he is still no longer the best kept secret. The secret is very much out with him, and Seth freaking Rollins may have had him under his thumb this whole time, but he broke away from that. So it's no longer time for Seth freaking Rollins to run this show. It's time for Buddy Bloody Murphy to run this show, mate. And 83 for this match we announced last week, Andrade and Bronson Reed, because neither of them really doing anything right now, so just give them a nice little match to have on the show. Andrade beats Reed with a hammerlock DDT in 14:27, a 91 for Andrade and an 83 for Bronson Reed. Pretty fucking good. Then get an in-ring segment. Lacey Evans is in the ring, and she's explaining why she did what she did last week to Rhea Ripley. And she's like, girl, I've been here on Raw busting my ass for about 2 years now, and I've had my opportunities, but I'm coming in, I'm seeing flavours of the month like Rhea Ripley. I'm seeing flavours of the month like Io Shirai just get handed titles when women like me are completely overlooked, and I couldn't sit back and let Rhea Ripley take a spot in Money in the Bank. So I took my brass knuckles out of my purse and I clocked her in the skull, and we ain't going to see her for roughly 27 days. And now the woman who owes me everything, the woman who will now win Money in the Bank in my honour, Toni Storm. And then Toni Storm comes out, she thanks Lacey, she says, thanks Lacey, I didn't need your help, but it's nice to know that you had my back. And now there's nothing that's going to stop it being Toni time at Money in the Bank. Then Asuka comes out, and she's like, one thing can stop Toni time, it's Asuka, because you're not going to be ready for Asuka. And then the music of J-Flow interrupts, and they just sing their way down to the ring. And then Asuka sort of gives her a weird look, because they did team last week against Kaylee Ray and Nikki Cross, and they lost. But they're going to be teaming again now, against Lacey and Toni Storm, in a match that gets a 76. And again, they come up short. Lacey Evans and Toni Storm defeat Asuka and Mackie. Toni Storm again pins Mackie with a strong 0. A 60 for Toni, a 46 for Lacey, a 69 for Mackie, and a 90 for Asuka. Fucking hell. They've got excellent chemistry, Mackie and Asuka do. So that's another loss for Mackie, and Asuka also still looking frustrated. And she sort of looks down at Mackie, she sort of just shakes her head. And Mackie's like, sorry, I lost again. And Mackie's like, you know what, it's okay. And then when she goes to leave, she walks down the ramp with the 4 other members of J-Flow on the bottom of the ramp, shouting abuse at her, saying, what are you bullying Mackie for? So, a little bit of tension between the two women in Money in the Bank here, as Toni Storm's momentum continues to rise heading into that match, but she's also got to contend with Shotzi, Candice, and Sonya from the SmackDown side. Then there'll be like a break, and then we do a recap at the end of the match. Then Lacey and Toni are walking down the hallway, talking about how, girl, we stopped Rhea Ripley, she's a nasty. And I don't know if we're a team from now on, but I will always have your back, Tony. Nice to know we got that win tonight. When they bump into Io and Kyrie. And she's like, look who it is, Lacey, it's the champ. But she needs to keep that title one for me, because when I win Money in the Bank, who knows when I'm going to cash in. And Lacey's like, yeah, especially with a strong, independent woman like me by your side. Where the champ, she looks at Kyrie, she's like, the champion's friend, she's a loser. And then Kyrie starts shouting at her angrily in Japanese. Io has to hold her back because Kyrie has a match with Charlotte later on. And Io doesn't really wants her to be 100% for that match. 43, again, to fill the time on the show, I wanted to give Path of the Dragon a win because I feel like I've been using them a lot as the babyface jobber team, so I wanted to give them a nice win. Humberto is, I believe, suspended for another 10 days. So it'll be the team of Luchasaurus and Akira Tozawa defeating 2 NXT regen guys. In 3:51, Luchasaurus pins Aaron Vibert with Betrayal. 66 for Tozawa, 72 for Luchasaurus, 26 and 27 for the regen guys. We then get Charlie. She nervously walks into the Undisputed Era hangout backstage, the old little place they used to sit. They cut their old UE promos, and they're going to be watching Christian versus Kofi Kingston very carefully because he heard what Christian said, how the tag team title situation is messy, but it shouldn't be messy because we pinned the tag champions. We should be the number one contenders, baby. That'll be Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish, and it doesn't matter if Edge and Christian want to stick their old noses in. They're the past, we're the future, and that is undisputed. 81, Christian defeats Kofi with a kill switch in 15:31. Nice match. 72 for Christian, 77 for Kofi. Yeah, pretty fucking good. Just nice to get Christian a nice win on his own, as not a part of a tag team. After the match, Woods helps Kofi to his feet, and Christian is on the other side of the ring, worn out after a great match. And then he approaches Kofi, offers his hand out. Kofi, of course, being the nice man that he is, shakes his hand, gives him the respect. Then Shock the System goes over the PA. And Cole's like, oh, isn't this sweet? The champion and another one of his potential challengers are showing respect to each other. But as far as I can wear, Edge isn't here tonight, and there's 4 of us and there's only 3 of you. So get 'em, boys. And then the 4 UE men storm into the ring. They take the fight to the 3 baby faces. They lay him out. And Adam Cole lays out Christian with the last shot. He hands the tag titles to Strong and not to Strong, to O'Reilly and Fish. They hold him up high, making their intentions very clear. But Christian did just pin a tag team champion as well, so I'm sure you can see where that's going. 80, Kyrie beats Charlotte via shenanigans from Io Shirai at ringside. 77 from Kyrie and 80 from Charlotte. And Charlotte, of course, being Charlotte Flair, she's not happy about that. She has a hissy fit in the ring. She pulls at the turnbuckles, starts kicking the ropes. It's like, this can't be happening to me. This is bullshit, referee. That was not fair. Woo. And the referee's like, well, I didn't see it. And you're like, well, you're useless. I am the queen. And then she boots the referee. Like in real life, we're not going to suspend her. It will be one of those angles where she gets fined. Because I don't want to suspend her, but she needs to take her frustration out because she's sort of going half real life Charlotte, half real life Sami Zayn, where she's sort of demanding the title opportunities for being Charlotte like in real life, but also at the same time feels like Eve is screwing her. So that's just how Charlotte is being taken over here, and she's attacked the referees like in real life, and Kyrie escapes with a cheeky win over Charlotte Flair. Apollo, just a little pre-tape of him backstage about how he's going to win Money in the Bank, because he beat up Oney Lorcan last week, and Ricochet, well, he's nothing to Apollo, so no one's going to stand in his way, and don't even get him started on Dijakovic, Johnny Gargano. And on the other people from the SmackDown side. I don't know why I said the other people. It's Cesaro. There's only one other person. Raw Talk hyped up. The guest this week, Oney Lorcan, is going to give his rebuttal to Oney, or to Apollo. Vega Mafia will be on as a group, and Christian will be there. Don't miss it. The main event gets an 82. I forgot that Priest and Keith had no chemistry, but they lose anyway. Miz and Kevin Owens defeat Keith Lee and Damian Priest. Kevin Owens pins Damian Priest with the stunner. That felt like the only outcome here. I didn't want the heel team to lose, specifically Kevin, because he hasn't won a match in the build to this thing yet. He hasn't had a match yet, so I didn't want him to really lose it. Then he wouldn't really look like a valid challenger, and obviously I'm not going to have him pin Keith Lee, so this felt like the only option. Kevin Owens pins Damian Priest with the stunner. 65 for Priest, that's because of the chemistry, same as the 72 that Keith Lee got. 78 from the Miz just because he's the Miz, and a 91 from Kevin Owens, which is pretty good. Then after the match, Owens and Miz are both celebrating as their selection of weird comedy friends each goes mental in the background, gassing their men up that they're going to be the next World Heavyweight and or IC champion. I've put Apollo. This is supposed to be Oney, but then this is Oney Lorcan talking about how he's going to kick ass in Money in the Bank, throw it up, etc. Vega Mafia, just saying, even though they may not be chasing champions, they may not be in Money in the Bank right now, they may not be the tag team champions right now, they still run this show, as per evidence earlier on when Bronson Reed thought he could step up and Andrade put him down, so anyone else dares think that the Vega Mafia is to be walked over, come and see what happens, stuff like that. They all actually get mic time here, which is 83 is actually really good. I actually rate them all on entertainment, unscripted. Christian, he's on the show, and he says that it was nice that he could go it alone this week, but Edge will be back next week. And Adam Cole, it's nice that you think that you're gonna be outnumbering us, but that's not the case, because breaking news for that ass is two things. Number one is that the match for Money in the Bank is now made official. The New Day will defend the Raw Tag Team Championships against Edge and Christian, and against the Undisputed Era in a triple threat tag team match. But also next week, along with the Drew McIntyre, Otis, Ricochet and Sheamus versus the Hurt Business match, for the first time ever, Christian goes one-on-one with Adam Cole, baby. With all members of Undisputed Era banned from ringside. Christian banned from ringside. Not Christian, Edge banned from ringside. And now we've got a stacked, possible double main event for next week's Raw. But this week's Raw gets an 84. No popularity changes, that's fine. We're at that point where we're just hitting steady banger shows. What matters more than the 84 is what you thought of the show. Do let me know what you thought in the comments below. And I'll see you next time for episode 136, which will be SmackDown. See you then.